2024 Watertown Board of Adjustment. Randy, can you take me through a roll call?
Yes, Dargis Johnson.
Here.
Hanson.
Present.
Dolly.
Here.
Spire.
Here.
Oletzky.
Present.
Brink.
Here.
Case.
Here.
And Culhane and Ford are absent. We do have a full board and quorum. And for the items today, we have a variance and a conditional use. So we have, I didn't do the math,
So it'll be 5 for both of them with the full board.
5 for both. Perfect. Thank you, Blake.
Yep.
That always trips me up.
We'll move on to item 3 is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Motion?
Second.
A second. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? Move on to item 4A on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 20th meeting. We had a chance to review those. Can I get a motion?
To approve. So moved.
Motion to approve?
Second.
A second by Case. Any discussion on those minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes are approved. We'll move on to item 5A on the regular agenda. So this will actually be 2 different requests, a conditional use and a variance request. Brandy, I'll have you take them through that, and then we'll open a single public hearing, but we'll take 2 separate actions.
Yep.
Sound fair?
Yep, that sounds great. And that's how we have it broken down there, because this is kind of a 2-for-1. So this is for the property at 12 South Broadway, which, if you recall, came forward in 2021. It's the old Sassy's building, Sassy's Bar, that the Berniers, Adam and Chris Bernier, have remodeled into an apartment on the main floor of the building, with a commercial space in the front, adjacent to the sidewalk downtown. This is downtown. It's in the C1 Community Commercial District. So what they're proposing now is to do a detached garage structure, which, from our recent recollection or finding with ordinance, is that if there is a primary use that was granted by conditional use originally, like this apartment on the main floor was in 2021, then if there's an accessory use, that has to come, an accessory use application for a building permit, that would have to come forward again for conditional use by the Board of Adjustment. So the request for the accessory structure to the residential apartment is for this detached garage here. I'll show you guys some of these exhibits. The garage will be 24 feet by 25 feet in the rear. It will enter the alley that is adjacent to this property. So this is the property currently looking west from the alley. And then here, this is the property when you're looking out towards the east into the alley. So the garage will be fitting in the rear of this existing property. And then this, I just included, has nothing to do with the application necessarily, but, and the image looks kind of skewed, however this was uploaded, but look at the amazing improvement for the facade. So then, other things, so you saw with those photos, and that are in your agenda packets as well. So they have their covered patios, but then there's a stairwell to the basement that is out within the exterior. So they can't really attach the garage, and then they have some uncovered patio space that they would retain and have a walkway. So if they would have been able to do an attached garage, it would have just been an attached garage, so they wouldn't be here for a conditional use. But just how the property and downtown properties altogether and renovation go, they always have some nuances to them. So the other thing to note here is the variance request is in regards to how ordinances, in how it's structured for accessory structures in the C1 district. So an accessory structure requires 30-foot setbacks for front, rear, and side, where a primary structure downtown, C1, is 0 foot. So I'm not sure the idea behind it. From my knowledge and experience, I would imagine that it's because of massing. And downtown, you want to make sure that you have large buildings that create a sense of enclosure and safety. So that I think it's actually trying to outlaw having people put sheds or whatnot on their properties downtown. So this property now, this structure really could be another primary, but we know that it's not because it is accessory to the apartment for the residential apartment there. So with that, I'll stand by for any questions.
Mr. Chair, I also think part of the reasoning for the setbacks on an accessory structure is to take into account that there are some uses that are in a C1 district that aren't stereotypically a Main Street design. So I could have an apartment where I have green space around it and maybe and even though we have C1 zero yard setbacks for primary uses, we have examples of where maybe there is a principal use and an accessory use that doesn't conventionally look like you're looking down Kemp. And that's part of it as well, I think.
And we also, as far as the setbacks and everything go, we actually have maximum setbacks in our downtown overlay district because that is the idea of the downtown to have that sense of enclosure that creates a space in and of itself that you have shops right off of the sidewalks for window shopping and whatnot. The other thing, though, what would be odd about that point, Todd, would be there's 30-foot setbacks. So a lot of the properties aren't even 30 foot in width. But the other point I wanted to bring up,
I'm in agreement with you. I think normally we would see things built up to the property lines in a C1 district. However, sometimes there are properties larger than your conventional 25-foot lots. And so therefore, that's why, and if you're spacing up against residential uses, that's why sometimes you see those separation distances in those zones. But we'll get into the more meat and potatoes here in a minute.
sounds good.
Randy, could I also have you pull up the GIS so we could look at the aerial?
Yes, and
The site plan on here isn't very detailed in terms of where the property boundaries are and the neighboring property sites. I think the GIS shows it a little bit better.
okay. And if I could just add one more thing that I forgot in my presentation. Is that okay?
Yep.
The drainage is the only other thing that I just wanted to bring that to your attention because they're proposing an angled roof. A lot of structures downtown have the flat roof so that you're not pushing your water, snow, and precipitation onto the neighboring property and causing issues there. And I have discussed that with the applicant, and they are willing, to include different snow stopping mechanisms or downspouts and whatnot, but just think that that's something that we'll keep open for discussion for the board. Okay.
Mr. Chair. Hey, Brandy, this is going to go right up to the alley, right? This garage?
Yep.
And now the people across the street, they're right up to the alley too, correct?
Right.
So how wide is the alley?
This alley, that's a great question here. It's about 25 feet. Yeah.
Because if we zoom in here, and the applicant actually makes note of the fact that this would be parallel to the neighboring Jeff's Vacuum and the garage that they have there. But it looks like Jeff's Vacuum is about 15 feet off of the property line.
Which is what we're proposing as well.
That's good news, thanks.
That's what we're trying to clarify here, is exactly where it will sit and how far away from the property line it is.
Yeah, it's going to be,
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Also, I'll have you come up and state your name for the record. Thank you.
I'm Adam Bernier, the owner of the property at 12 South Broadway.
So yeah, if you can just give us a little bit more detail. So the site plan that was included in the proposal didn't really have the detail of where this sits in relation to the property boundary. And
Right.
it looks like we're asking for a 0 setback, which makes it sound like we're going to build it right on the property line. So
Exactly,
you
yeah,
can
there's
provide some
kind of
clarity.
there's an approach that comes up right now to the back of the property. So we're proposing to be at the same same level or same position as what Jeff's garage or Jeff's vacuum. And that is a garage on the back of Jeff's vacuum. Well, I did talk to Jeff. He was in favor of it and a proponent of doing it, so.
So if you guys see on GIS here, this is where technically, so the lot lines are a little skewed or how the image was laid on here. So even like this is actually where the end of his property is, but then, so that's where you get, I mean, it's almost a 30-foot alley, but the whole thing is a little skewed. So when we measure this, the alley itself is 25 feet wide, which is quite a large alley. So there will be that sufficient, and obviously there's utilities right here too. So they'll have good space for maneuvering, I guess, in and out.
Yeah.
I want to be clear about that, though, because I think what you're seeing there is just some of the, like, I don't know, call it parallax or something. Those buildings are taller and the satellite's coming at an angle. But where that retaining wall is on the back of his property, that's not the actual boundary of his property, is it?
I believe it is. Because there's utilities right here. And in the downtown district, there's no, we see garage doors open right to the right of way, like the Ruins or Marketplace or any of the new construction park side, because it's just the nature of downtown. Now this, at least, it's helpful that it's on the alley, that it's opening to an alley versus like the Ruins is opening to the sidewalk. The Ruins is by the downtown plaza. So when we measure, so the property is 25 by 165. So when you measure here, we're at 148, this is 165, but then if we would measure from here to here, we're at about 160. So there's just a little manipulation or what's the word? But basically when it was overlaid onto GIS, that there's a little skew with the angle when this was overlaid. So I do believe that it is going to be, because you can see here, like obviously the alley is 24 feet wide. So if we start here, because those lines are accurate, and then it comes to about here.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Hanson?
Brandy, so the car in that image that would be behind Jeff's vacuum,
Then we have that.
that is essentially parked in the alley then, or is that a driveway, or what? And I guess then my question is same thing. Do they have that maneuverability to get it out of that garage?
I would say they do, especially because these utilities exist here, where these people are probably, because people aren't going to be using this as a driving lane because of the utility boxes there.
Correct, but again, that car that's behind Jeff's vacuum, is that considered a parking space or their personal property? I mean,
They probably, and honestly, it's probably in the right of way, but it's probably just been historically treated as a parking spot, even though they don't need parking. Well, they don't need parking in the C1 district. But yeah, probably would be more conducive to park parallel,
So in any other area of town where we would be looking at a similar concept to this, we would have different setbacks depending on if they're entering perpendicular or parallel. So I think the primary concern is on opening that garage door right into the alley, both from a safety and maneuverability standpoint.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
Sorry. Brandy, who owns the parking lot?
the city.
It is city parking, okay. With that slanted roof, that's the only reason I asked, because, snow will slide down that, rain will come that way. Are you thinking rain gutter there, or what's the plan for?
Yeah, rain gutter on that side, but also we would install there's a metal system to hold the snow from kind of, falling down and. Well, it's not a gate, so I think. Yeah, and then it allows it to sit there and melt versus sliding down.
No avalanches?
Hope not.
Brandy, is there any storm sewer in that Midway Alley? I know that had been redone not so terrible long ago, but
I'll check that out, and then, because I did make note of that as a paragraph in the staff report, just because we have started those conversations with the applicant, and he's aware of that, and, you know, doing what we can to make sure that they're not pushing their drainage onto the adjacent property owners as specified in ordinance.
Mr. Chair, I got a question for Brandy. Okay, now I see where the stairway is. And then I'm assuming that's gonna be like a 4-foot walkway, and then you're gonna have a 24-foot garage. So that's gonna be 28 feet from there. Is that really 28 feet
Yep.
to the end of there? Okay.
Okay, so the utilities, it does not, but I'm not really seeing any of them show up here. Yeah, so there is not any storm sewer in the alley. But like any of these properties, as far as their drainage, you know, and there's not any storm sewer in Broadway. On this portion here. So like these properties are most likely draining into the storm sewer on Maple. Currently, I guess for the front, for the building, where, are you aware of where it drains?
Not, I've never paid that much attention to it.
Hopefully just not all in your basement.
No, we've had no problems with that.
Sir, is this one of those buildings where it used to be like the old steam went in front of the building and below? Do you think that you could get from your basement to underneath the street and sidewalk?
My understanding from our building, you can't, but from Jeff's vacuum, you can. Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Just another concern, and again, I'm always the one pointing out weird things, but, so your roof running there, and then you have that open, the covered patio. You are going to cover, okay, you got the covered and then you got the uncovered. My only concern about that is, as the snow comes off those roofs, and you would know, you own the property, if it lays in there now, it's gonna be worse with the building there. You know, I am just wondering if they decide, Brandy, down the road, yeah, we better just cover that all the way with that slanted roof, is that something he'd have to come back to this board to request that? Or would that just be a matter of a building permit and away he goes? Because I just see that just being a funnel for you. And, you know, I'm just throwing that out there, that if he decides that, yeah, next year, one winter, and I've had enough of this, that what would he have to do in order to, I would hate to have him come back here, I guess is where I'm going with that.
Yeah, no, great point. And so since we would be giving 0-foot setbacks for the accessory structure, then he could put a canopy up there and still utilize. No, actually he couldn't, because it would be, it's extending of a, so we'd be extending what the variance was allowed for, so.
Mr. Chair, if the roof line was extended to the other existing roof line is connected on 3 walls, wouldn't it be a connected structure, therefore not making it attached? Not, therefore it's not an
Yeah.
accessory structure?
It would be
And-
expansion of a conditional use on the primary structure.
But it wouldn't no longer be in a conditional use, because I am sharing a roof line and 3 walls. I would be attached, so it's not a detached structure,
But
We have a
Blake's
conditional
point,
use even on the principal structure
even
for
on
the
the
use.
principal structure.
Yeah.
Okay. We need to change that.
Yeah, that's part of the reason we're here doing another conditional use today and not just a variance request.
and to that point, I agree to some extent, but then when we see the July 18th one, there's some validity to it. Otherwise, I mean, I feel like this is gonna be a common occurrence to see these conditional uses come forward again, but it's, the next one, next week's or whatever, the July 18th meeting, it's a minor deal, but still, there is some validity to it.
You know, I think we've traditionally treated the downtown district a little bit different because it's a historical district, because you have zero setbacks, because you have mixed use, and we want to promote mixed use. If we're talking about something being in line with the existing neighboring structure, built in a very similar manner, I think I'm inclined to support that more than I would when I was understanding that the property line was 15 foot farther out towards the alley. So thanks for explaining that and pointing that out on the GIS. Do we have any other questions for the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Brandy, in the drawing, it shows a 9-foot wall height on the south and a 13, well, that's to the roof line, I guess. Do we know what the height of the wall height on Jeff's vacuum? I mean, that, I'm assuming it's a 9-foot door, but maybe not.
I guess, do you know?
Yeah, Jeff's wall height, based on my measurement, is the 13 feet, so we'd be running, right at that same height.
Gotcha.
And another option too that Mr. Bernier and I talked about was if he angles the roof differently so that it's not angled towards the east or the west, so it's not dropping on an adjacent property, but then getting to the alley. But he was actually, it was for aesthetics more so, of why he didn't do that. And honestly, it's probably safer that it wouldn't just drop into the alley where somebody could be driving, but he also does have that buffer distance for where those utility boxes are, that people are most likely not going to be driving, that's not gonna be their path of where they're driving, because it's really gonna act as a buffer or almost parking area as it has for years.
Yeah, it is a parking area right there. And there's a small sidewalk which we clean. I'm not sure if that's our responsibility or not, but, so anything coming down will come on the sidewalk and, we'll clear that off.
And the neighboring property is owned by the city there, Brandy, so you're reviewing this from a city standpoint too, to ensure that you're okay with the design and the egress of the water.
Yeah, and regardless if it were city property or not, we still would make sure that somebody wasn't draining on the adjacent landowner.
Other questions? Thank you, sir. I do have the public hearing open, if anybody else is here to speak on behalf or against. If there's anybody online for this item? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing.
Brandy, being that we are having two action items, is it more appropriate to have the variance before, or is it to have the CUP first?
Conditional use first, that's why I put it that way on the agenda.
I would make a motion to approve the CUP as to amend the original CUP to allow this structure to be located. And then we'll come back with a variance after that.
A motion by Mr. Case,
Second.
second by Brink. Any discussion on that? We'll take a roll call vote.
All right, Dargis Johnson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes?
Dolly,
Yes.
Spire,
Yes.
Oletsky,
Yes.
Brink,
Yes.
Kays.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to make a motion to approve the variance as requested with the basis of the findings that this is a C1 district that has zero lot lines, zero setbacks around those lot lines, and that it encourages mixed-use development.
Motion by Mr. Case,
Second?
and second by Spire. Any discussion on that item?
So the roof line, is that addressed at all for him?
As it was put in the application, it showed a slanted roof, right?
Yeah,
But he can't attach it.
Pardon?
He can or cannot attach it should it become a funnel for snow. You know what I
Can we
mean?
do that? He didn't ask for that at this point, so can we do that?
you guys, well, so that would be more so of your variance, a condition of the variance. You usually do conditions with the conditional uses.
You can put a condition, you can condition variances, however, that actually would have been on the conditional use permit as well, because you're expanding the conditional use, so if you want, we'd have to take a step back.
I think that if it becomes an issue that way, I mean, I think that they're doing an uncovered patio for reasons to allow
I agree,
for,
yeah.
you know, sunlight and what.
Okay, give it a
I
whirl.
think the
see if it
engineering
works.
department ultimately is going to look at the building permit and grant it based on the design of the project. So we're
Okay.
just blessing the variance for the
Yeah,
setback.
I'm blessing,
I'm
the
good with
yeah,
that.
I'm
I'm
blessing the
just-
variance as, you know, described in whatever relationships that have to be worked out between the city and the applicant as far as drainage and those things.
Okay, I'm just being, you know,
No, it was a good
worried about the
question.
snow. And that's only if he wants to. I get the open patio. I'd do that too.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and take a roll call.
Okay. Kays,
Yes.
Brink,
Yes.
Aletsky,
Yes.
Spire,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Dargis Johnson.
Yes.
that motion passes as well. Moving on to item 6, the open public comments. I don't believe we have anybody here to speak on an item that wasn't on the agenda for the Board of Adjustment, so we'll move
No.
on to new business.
Okay. I have one, I just wanted to apologize, and this is a pun intended. I did not mean to be sassy with Commissioner Kays about the order of the conditional use or variances. The only reason is because we would take the conditional use first, because if the conditional use isn't good, the variance is no good anyway.
Yeah.
So just wanted, that was kind of sassy on my part.
No, it was the answer I was looking for, but I was just testing.
I mean,
And
with that
because
too,
it's
I mean,
Old Sassy's building.
theoretically, right, if we did grant a conditional use for that type of structure, they could come and meet it without the variance request if the variance failed, right?
Yeah, yep. They wouldn't,
They
they
might not
actually.
on this particular one, but in general.
Coincidentally. Yes. Okay, so then I have the introduction of our new permit technician, and it's Kelly Brandstetter. I hope I pronounced that right. So she comes to us from Washington State, and she has quite the background and experience in the permit technician realm, and has been a permit technician previously. She has her, I'm just gonna read these off, her ICC permit technician's license, her certificate, so her certification, the ICC residential building inspector and ICC residential plumbing inspector. So we're very excited for her to join our team and have traveled the way and made it here and bring all this experience that will really help strengthen our building services leg of community development. So we're excited, and she started on Monday, so second day in, and we hope that she's enjoying it.
Well, welcome to the team and welcome to Watertown. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay, and
Any
that,
other
is-
new business from the board? How about old business? Do you have old business?
none that I have.
Any here? None? Take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned. We'll reconvene here momentarily as the Plan Commission.